Yeah, lovely. So, could you start off with who you are, what sport you're doing, and how long you've been doing it?
So, hi, I'm Jazz Turner. I do sailing, and I've been sailing since I was 13, so 11 years now.
And prior to sailing, did you do any other sports prior to sailing? Or
Sorry, I missed that one.
so, did you do any sports prior to sailing, or did you do any other disabled sports? Or
Yeah, so I've tried wheelchair basketball and rugby, um, and yeah, I think those are the main two I've tried. But sailing kind of stuck, mainly because you can compete against both people with disabilities and people without.
and yeah, so how did you know that sailing was the sport for you?
Um, I mean, I just fell in love with the freedom it gave me. Because when I'm sailing, I can go where I want when I want. Um, Whereas on land, due to the world not being designed for wheelchairs, you can feel quite trapped. Whereas when you're in the boat, no one can tell I have a disability, and I can compete on a level platform regardless of anything. So age, gender, disability, religion, anything like that.
Thanks. And so how did you first get into sailing?
I actually, it was a fluke. My best friend had a trial session for sailing and it was really windy and raining. She didn't want to go, so I went instead. Um, it was in Cornwall, it was really windy, freezing cold, and pouring rain, and I loved it. And I haven't stopped since.
And what's the main difference between normal sailing, like in the Olympics, compared to power sailing in the Paralympics?
So the main difference when it comes to sailing versus parasailing is that in parasailing we all sit in seats, and when so that your lower body is essentially taken out of the equation. You then have all your controls and sails and steering led back to in front of you. And the boats are designed so that they can't capsize, so um, it makes it safe for us to go out in any condition, from no wind to a crazy wind.
And sorry, I did forget to mention. What's your disability?
So I have a disability called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which means my body doesn't produce collagen, so it affects all of my body. I also have previous injuries, which means my ankles are pretty messed up. Um, so I have broken ankles as well.
Ah, so okay. And I also hear I was doing a bit of research last night for this, and it turns out that you've got a job as an engineer. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm studying mechanical engineering. I'm in my final year, and then I did a placement at a company in Shoreham, Ricardo. So yeah.
And it seemed to have linked quite well with your sport, an engineer and doing all the
Yeah.
all that.
Yes, engineering is very technical, and a lot of sailing is very technical. So it definitely helps with the basic understanding behind the physics behind what happens when you're sailing, to the rigging and tuning of boats and things like that. Yeah.
Okay, and have you well, I know you got an award in the engineering type thing before, but have you won any awards or trophies in parasailing or any honourable mentions?
Yeah. So I've been I've got to remember them all. Been sports Southeast Sports Personality of the Year before. And then I'm on the para squad with the GB team. I think I'm also an ambassador for the Andrew Simpson Foundation. And yeah, I think that's it.
And so what level are you at now with sailing? And then is your dream Paris or Los Angeles, or what's the progression?
So I compete internationally for the GB team at the moment. We were at our latest championships, the first British boat. So that was good. In terms of Paralympics, sailing isn't technically a Paralympic sport at the moment. So they're hoping it will go back in for LA. So that's obviously the aim. But in the background, working on the logic of working towards winning a world championships and doing some other stuff.
And the last bit is sort of plugging in your campaign that you have at the moment, trying to get you to fund your sailing future. Is that right?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
So you've got a campaign going at the moment, haven't you? For
Yeah.
So if you'd like to plug that in.
Yeah, so I'm running a campaign at the moment to increase the awareness of, in the sailing world, people with disabilities and what we are capable of. And alongside that, I'm attempting to be the first wheelchair user to compete in offshore racing at the moment. So my current campaign is raising funds not only for me to allow me to get access to and pay for events, but also about advocating for people with disabilities, because at the moment I've faced a lot of rejection and being told no's. So it's just creating a pathway for other people like me.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. And there's not much funds for any disabled support out there, so that's really great. And if people were listening wanted to get involved, how can they find your campaign?
So my campaign is under my name, Jazz Turner. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and I've got a website. But if you're interested in getting involved in sailing, if you contact your local sailability centre, they'll be able to point you in the right direction of getting you out on the water.
Well, that seems to be it. Thank you. So if I just stop the recordings now. So, oh, yeah. Stop that.